Hey, this is Stacia, and welcome back to King's Island. Yeah. I am going to share with you my round 4 game from the King's Island Open. This is in the under 2100 section, and I played a much higher rated opponent this game. His name is Douglas Dysart, and he played the black pieces, rated 1980 USCF, while I was only a tiny little 1700 player. So let's go ahead and see this game. I opened with e4 and he chose c6, the Caro-Kann defense. I played d4, he went d5. That challenges the center, sort of the point of this move c6. And now I take and he take. And this is the point of the Caro-Kann, is that he can take back with a pawn. And then I played c4, an explosive move. And this is called the Panov Attack. And now he played e6, and that does shut in the bishop, but that is totally fine to play e6. I think it might be the main line. And after knight to c3, knight to f6 developing, knight f3 developing, and bishop to b4. I do believe we have a mainline position. I will check with the opening book to make sure. Yeah, I guess bishop e7 used to be the main move, but it looks like bishop to b4 has overtaken that other one as the main move now in this line. I've had this exact position in the online Women's World Open, which I played during the pandemic, where I drew a USCF expert, luckily, as you can find that on my channel. In fact, I'll put the link in the description. But in this game, after bishop to b4, now I chose to take on d5, breaking my rule, never trade. So why would I do such a thing? Well, I want to play bishop to d3, but then black could play this move. And that attacks the bishop, and I basically lose a tempo here. So that is why we simply take. It also opens up more squares for the bishop. And black has a choice here. Black can take 3 different ways. They can take with a knight, a queen, or a pawn. Taking with the queen just seems wrong to me, although it is playable, just using the pin. But you're pretty much saying that you're going to trade off your bishop for the knight, and that's your good bishop. So I don't approve of that move. Taking with a pawn is probably fine, but this is a more symmetrical pawn structure. Black is now also accepting an isolated pawn, so the imbalance in the position starts to fade a little bit. So I do believe the most testing move is the move knight takes d5, because even though black doesn't have a strong center anymore, they can play against this isolated queen pawn, and they're attacking the pinned piece. So this seems like a good approach, and that is what my opponent played. Now I feel I pretty much have to go, I have to do something about, this threat. Take, check, fork me, win stuff. We don't want that to happen. So I played bishop to d2, breaking the pin. Okay, black castled. I played bishop to d3, as was my plan. This is an excellent square for the bishop. I tell kids all the time, the bishop's best square is c4 because it aims at f7. But okay, if you look at that diagonal, it's kind of like plugged up with black pieces and pawns. So this square is also quite good. We have Greek gift ideas. We're aiming at the king side. The bishop is quite happy on d3. My opponent now played knight to d7. And this is the first moment in the game where I was out of book, because usually black will play knight to c6, which is a very normal move. The knight is more active. It guards against knight e5. It puts pressure on the isolated queen pawn. It could potentially jump to b5, get tempo on the bishop. There's so many things. But my opponent chose knight to d7. And I think his idea was, hey, my defensive guarding knight has gone on vacation, so I know I'll send someone else in his place. So I think that was his idea, but it does temporarily block the bishop, and it's a little bit slower than the normal plans. Okay, so I thought there might be a way to punish this. So if you want to pause your video and see if you can determine a way to gain an advantage because of knight d7, go ahead and pause the video now. It's a pretty advanced question. So I asked that question to myself during the game, and my answer was, hey, that's a little bit slower for black than usual. I think I should just keep developing rapidly, and that is how I will punish it. Turns out I was wrong about that. There's nothing wrong with that plan, but to take full advantage of this, I worked with my coach, and he said, to punish this move, what you want to do is actually take on d5, because after takes, and takes, now we have that same symmetrical pawn structure, but the white pieces are more active and well placed than the black pieces. And if we continue down this, let's say castle, knight f6, now you can see that white's going to have some pull with moves like rook c1, and if they try like b6, I might go knight e5, and on something like bishop e7, already we can maybe jump a knight in c6, or we could just continue developing or play like something like queen f4. And there's pressure here too. And okay, I'm not saying this is winning, but certainly white is better here. So this is possible to play like this. Equal pawns, but more active pieces. It's basically the answer there. But after knight d7, I simply castled. Okay, which is good. And my opponent took on c3, shocking me beyond belief. Yeah, actually it did shock me because this breaks my rule never trade. This knight is quite good on d5. That's a central knight. And my pawn is isolated. When he takes on c3, it does trade a set of minor pieces, which benefits black. But I can take with my b pawn with tempo on the bishop, and now my pawn structure has been leveled up from isolated pawn to hanging pawns, which is a slightly better pawn structure. It's going to be like an isolated pawn, but now we have two pawns we can push, and it's a bit stronger. So if you ask the computer already likes white. It says like plus 0.9, which is kind of what I thought during the game. And I thought for sure here I would see bishop to e7, but my opponent played bishop to d6. So I think this move is aimed at possibly stopping knight e5, although I'm not sure it really does. But that's another story. I played rook e1, helping to gain control of the e-file and especially the e5 square, and he played knight to f6. So this was his idea, clearly, because the knight landed on f6. Okay, so here is where white needs to come up with some kind of plan. So I'm going to challenge you, my viewer. What would you come up with in this position? Keep in mind, this is classical chess. You have tons of time on your clock. Find the best plan for white. Okay, there's probably a lot of, well, there's one main plan, and that is to play actively and put pressure on black. Now, why do we want to do that? In the hanging pawn structure, black actually has a better, more solid pawn structure. Black has 2 pawn islands. We have 1, 2, 3 pawn islands. So that means that if we go into the endgame, black will have an advantage because there will be more pawn islands to attack. So we don't want to go into an endgame. So black's going to try to blockade our hanging pawns, stop us from pushing these. They want to stop that somehow. Maybe occupy c4. And white wants to play actively, use these pawns to anchor our pieces, like get a knight on e5, for example, or possibly play c4, d5, or possibly attack the king side with things like bishop g5, take, maybe bishop c2, queen d3 with a battery, or maybe bishop takes h7, Greek gift sacrifices with knight g5, h4. This is kind of that's the vague version of what we're trying to achieve. Now, I knew all this, or at least most of it, during the game, and somehow I played a move that I don't like at all here. What I really wanted to play was knight to e5, and I thought after knight to e5, bishop takes knight, pawn takes, queen takes bishop. I know I could still win the knight here, but I wasn't excited about losing my attacking bishop. The other way I could play is knight e5 takes and rook takes e5. And I felt unsure about that. I haven't really seen the rook on e5 like that before. And I was kind of talking myself out of it because there could potentially be like knight g4 or knight d7 or f6. But it turns out that is the definition of seeing ghosts, because my coach told me that the rook absolutely can go to e5. And that is why knight e5 is a good move here. And okay, I'll check with the computer now. Ooh, yeah, it's the top move, knight e5. So another good move would be to maybe just play c4. I think that is fine. I'm not saying we should go c5, but we might want to go d5. And also the pawns are a little bit more mobile. It's hard to blockade pawns when they're side by side because they're attacking everything, right? You can't blockade those. So that would have been a good move, c4. Or we could even play bishop g5 with ideas like knight e5 and even bishop takes f7 or rook e3, rook h3, or bishop c2, queen d3. You get the idea. So in the game, somehow I talked myself out of every single good move and instead played the move bishop to c2. Now this, I thought, okay, this is still like pretty flexible, and my plan is to go, hopefully queen d3. I want to go bishop g5, queen d3, and that's going to apply some pressure on the king side, and I can maybe provoke a move like g6 or h6 or something. I mean, probably g6. I don't think h6 helps. So, but I'm not sure that that's all that great. And secondly, bishop t2 is a little more committal. Remember how I was saying sometimes there's Greek gift sacrifices. So that means we don't know if we want to play bishop c2 or not, but we know we want to play knight e5, and we know we want to play, bishop g5. So I should have started with one of those moves. So if you played one of those moves, then congrats. You already did better than me in the game. But the engine actually lists bishop c2 as the third best. The problem is I wasn't intending to follow it up the correct way, like the computer is planning. So, okay. My opponent played b6. So obviously he wants to activate his bishop. If he does that, black should be doing pretty well as long as there's not too much activity by white. And once again, it's time to play knight e5. Now, again, I was afraid of the same stuff. I don't know why. I didn't want to allow this because I thought I would take here and knight d7. I mean, this looks fantastic when I look at it now. So I'm not sure what I was afraid of here. Knight e5 seems absolutely correct to me. Really like knight e5. Unfortunately, I didn't play that move. I played bishop g5 first. I think my idea was that I want to go knight e5 and have this knight be pinned. So in the event of bishop takes knight and d takes e5, that will be pinned. The problem, though, is that black could trade queens. I think this still is going to work out, but we'll have to look at that. So the absolutely right move was knight to e5. Yeah, and we do not have to fear them taking. If they take, this position is amazing. We have managed to remove the only main defender of the king, the knight on f6, and our bishops are like monsters, and our queen is ready for action, and our rook's like, hey, I want to get in. He could go like this, and this rook's like, what about me? Okay, let's get you in. Yeah, I mean, this attack looks real. I don't really know. I'd be scared to death as black. Like, if they just do nothing, I mean, so first of all, how should we start? I'll just do, I mean, computer gives queen f3. Ooh, queen f3. Look at this move. We're starting the attack and stopping bishop to b6. That is quite nice. So I like queen f3. I was going to do something like this. Let's say they go here. Yeah, I mean, this is already getting very rough. Like, already bishop h6 is an idea. Like, if black is oblivious here, they're going to get crushed, right? Like, it looks like they could take on e5, for example. But if they do this, check, takes, check, you know, this looks incredibly strong to me. Yeah, I'm trying to checkmate, but we could always just take the knight, and that would be fine too. Okay, so you get the point. That's the sort of attack that we're looking for. So I played bishop c2, not doing badly yet. In fact, the computer says +1. But after b6 and bishop to g5, my opponent played bishop a6, and I started to get nervous. He wants to occupy the c4 square, and I was planning queen d3. I thought that would be annoying, because then I could take the knight and play checkmate. But he also stepped queen to d3. So bishop a6 is a very nice move. And now I should ignore that and play actively with knight e5, which I did not do in the game. Had I played knight e5, I was worried about this continuation. Takes, and if I take with a pawn, I was like, oh no, they'll trade queens. And then after this, like, I don't know about this, right? Like, they just move their knight to d5. So this is in fact a little better for black. But I don't have to take with a pawn. After this, we can play rook takes e5. So this is one of the things that I did not understand correctly during the game. It's weird to think that something as simple as this resulted in me making several bad moves. But it is true, because that's why I didn't play knight e5. I need not fear this. The knight is pinned. There's no knight g4. There's no knight d7. Okay? That knight is pinned. It's also not that easy to get out of the pin. Also, if h6, I can back up. And also, the rook can always retreat and can go to e3, where we can still find these attacking squares for the rook. So this is what I learned with my coach. And it's important to smash every ghost that I see, because I see tons of ghosts. Okay. Instead of playing a good move, I played this move, bishop to b3. Now, on bishop b3, I was kind of giving up. in a way. I was like, yeah, I think I don't see any good attack here. I don't think I can go knight e5 because knight e5 here, and queen trade, like I was saying. So I kind of gave up on that, and I was like, okay, instead of that, I'm going to try to stop black from occupying c4, and I'm going to try to advance my pawns, and I'm going to play that way instead of actively. Turns out that that whole thing was incorrect. I should play actively and then push my pawns, not the other way around. Because if you don't play actively, then black is free to engage in their ideas to stop my pawns, and they will likely be successful without the distraction of getting checkmated. So, okay, rook to c8, which I thought would be played. I played rook c1, and of course they played bishop c4. So now we see why my bishop b3 move was not really a good move. I basically wasted 2 tempos, and now I'm going to trade off my bishop. Of course, I wasn't going to take because I don't want to break my own rule, never trade. But I played knight to d2. Here, I still have one last chance to play knight to e5. Still have one last chance. And if they take this time, again, taking with the pawn is incorrect, but rook takes e5. We still have an advantage even in this position after my wrong moves. Shows how resilient the Panov attack and hanging pawn structure is, or are. But I played knight to d2, just fighting for my pawns, and my opponent took, and I took with the a pawn. Okay, now my argument was I'm not playing actively, but my pawn structure leveled up again. And this is indeed pretty good. My coach actually thought this was still okay for white. Okay, my opponent played h6. I played bishop h4. And now bishop e7, breaking the pin. That's a very annoying pin. I do not think black wants to do things like g5. That makes more sense in a closed Roy Lopez. In an open game, playing g5 usually means you're going to get checkmated. That being said, the computer does not completely hate it, but it thinks white is +1 even in this position. After takes, and rook c7 or a5. Okay, but after bishop to e7, I'm turning that computer off. I decided that I need to improve my position because I don't know why my pieces are cuddling when they should be out there doing stuff. And I want to play moves like c4 and hopefully get d5 in. That would be amazing if I could get d5. But it's not going to be easy to accomplish. I played queen to f3. That move's probably fine. Rook e8, protecting his bishop. Yeah, I think I did have sneaky threats here. What was I planning? Was I planning d5? Maybe. d5. Takes. I think I might have been planning d5 a little bit. I can't quite remember what I was doing, but I remember that the bishop would be hanging at the end of the line. That's all I remember. So let's see if they do nothing. Is that true? Can we play? I don't see how it works. I mean, this doesn't work. I don't know what. I mean, I obviously didn't see this. Now my knight's hanging. Yeah, okay. I'm not totally sure what it was I saw. This is the problem with analyzing like 3 weeks later. Okay. Rook to e8, bishop to g3. I want to take more control of e5. It's just a good bishop, basically. But now queen d5. Now, another question for you guys. Does white want to trade queens, or should we avoid the queen trade? If we are going to avoid it, how should we do it? And if we are going to take, why are we taking? Yeah, this is not a position where we want to trade queens. We're actually the ones with a better position and more space in the center. Black wants to trade and get to the endgame. So the best move here is probably to retreat and maybe just go queen d3 or something to avoid the trade. But instead of that, I played bishop to e5, allowing them to take. And now without queens on the board, my pawns are a little more vulnerable. Knight to d5. And yeah, things are starting to come together for black here. And the computer agrees. It says black slightly better. So my pawn is attacked, and I don't really know how to defend it. Also, placing the bishop on e5 was completely wrong. The rook is actually good on e5. The knight's great on e5. The bishop, no. And the bishop doesn't belong on e5. So that is one of the main things I learned in this game. And now you're going to see how things go very wrong from here. One of the things black wants to do is attack the pawns and force white to push their pawns. So I have to do that here. I don't see a choice. But I give up, once again, the b4 square. So knight to b4, rook e d1, rook e d8, knight e1. Yeah, so again, I think playing this way, treating it like it's some sort of maneuvering game, was totally wrong on my part. And I mean, really, we should probably do something like bishop f4 so that we can play knight e5. That's an idea. Or maybe bring the king up. So that would be the correct way to play. But in the game, I played knight to e1. I was just wanting to challenge the knight. So he retreats. And now I realize this is getting a little bit worse. So I play knight to c2. But this is awkward what I'm doing. Terrible play by me. Knight takes e5. Pawn takes e5. And b5. Okay. So why did he play b5? Well, it's because my pawn is like a little bit pinned. If I take the pawn, he's going to play check. I have to recapture, and then, oh noes, I lose my knight. So luckily I did see that. So I played knight to d4. So I'm going to pause your video. I'm going to pause your video. No, I'm not. I'm going to ask you to pause your video. Knight d4 was the losing move. Can you see why? Why is knight d4 the losing move? See if you can get this. Okay, so this is the losing move because of bishop to g5. Now, okay, bishop g5 immediately is probably okay, but I actually think it's probably better to first trade pawns. So let's do that. That's what he did in the game. He, after this move, he took, I took, and then bishop to g5. Now you can see that we've got problems. This is a classic pin and win situation, coupled with bishops can harass rooks. And my rooks, I didn't even consider that they could be harassed so well, but they can be. And it's basically because they've got this pin on me. So clearly I've got to keep this rook here to protect the knight. In the meantime, black can attack the pinned piece. He can play stuff like rook d7 and then the other rook over and rar. How am I going to protect that again? It's not going to be easy. I would have to do something like this or this. Unfortunately, with the bishop around, the dark squares become very difficult. So I would have to go here and here, but the bishop's still guarding that, right? So there's basically no way for me to double rooks. I could also counterattack, but that would just lose a pawn, right? Like, this is not going to be good. It's even worse because that also attacks the pinned piece and black wins. So I played this because there's no other choice. And I came up with a very desperate idea, but at least it was something. So he starts his plan. I played g3, rook cd8. Of course, he's going to do that. And my idea originally was to play f4. And then I was like, but wait, if I play f4, maybe he could just sack on f4, right? Like, what's wrong with this? And he's on, ooh, yeah, look, I even showed it. So he's even on these pawns. This one ties down my rook, and this one attacks a pawn. I might have an interesting try with c5, just pushing my passed pawn. So I might have some counterplay and might be able to hold this, but it seems very unlikely even then. But okay, so I didn't go f4 because I was worried about that line. So I played h4, and I was like, haha, he didn't see this. But my opponent did see it. He's pretty good. Bishop e7. Time to attack the dark squares from the other direction. So yeah, and I did see this could be played. So I played rook c to d2. What else can I do? I need to protect my knight. He played bishop to b4, attacking my rook. So I think here I'm just in absolutely huge trouble. I played knight to c6. This is desperate, though. I didn't really believe that it works, but hey, let's give my opponent a chance to mess up. Now you might be saying, but Stacia, why didn't you just play rook d3? But then this move, right? That attacks the pin knight a third time. We're just losing a piece. It's very cleanly over for white. So I played this because at least it's messier. Now my opponent has the decision. Should they take with a bishop or should they take with a rook? What should they do? Actually, both are winning, so it doesn't really matter. But I saw some lines where I may have some chances if he doesn't play accurately. My opponent took with the bishop, which I thought was correct. Now, if I take the bishop, you know, I think he'll just take. If I take the rook, he comes back, and that's just game over. Black has a rook. I do not have a rook. It's that simple. So after this, I actually cannot take the bishop. If he takes with a rook, I thought this is interesting. Here, I thought maybe I can take with a knight. Can I? I don't know. Probably everything's still losing, but can I try this? Because at least it offers him a chance to mess up. I mean, is a 1980 going to do that? No. I've been playing with too many low-rated kids. Okay. So, but I figured he would find bishop takes, and he did. And my idea here was okay, like everything loses. I mean, what am I going to do? This is still no good. I don't think this is any good. I could try, let's see. I could try attacking the bishop. Yeah, actually, this is similar to the game, so I'll just show it. So after he takes, I played king to f1. My idea is that I want to take, and have this and attack the pinned bishop. But the problem is that the bishop has a square to retreat and defend the rook with bishop a5. So that's why I wanted to retain my knight on c6 and kind of guard that. So I wanted to go king e2 and see how he's going to deal with that. So he dealt with it with this move. And okay, what to do? I took the bishop because here I had calculated where at least I get to keep my knight. Takes, check, and I win the rook. Okay, plus it felt very satisfying to at least fork him, right? Like, I don't want to just roll over and die. I've got to do something. But I do think that objectively I'm lost, and my opponent's a 1980 with tons of time on his clock. I think this is a fairly easy conversion. So he simply played a5, saving his pawn, king e1 attacking the rook, but he saw it. Rook to b2, probably the best move yet. Yeah, it is. The engine says it is. I thought it was too because, I mean, really my only chance is to activate my knight and try to stop that pawn, I guess. And yeah, I don't know. I thought this was a little weaker. It's probably also good. Here I could at least play knight d6 and hang on to stuff. I mean, if he pushes though, it's still not. I don't imagine. I can't imagine this is any good for me. I mean, he could even just take here, I think. Yeah, everything's winning. But I teach my students never resign, and I try to practice what I preach when I can. So I was looking for tricks desperately. I really wanted to push my pawn, but it wasn't working out. Let's see. I pushed there, but now if I push, I'm not sure how I stop this pawn. I mean, does this work at all? No, because we get checkmated first. So I saw that. That's why I didn't push the pawn. But if I can't push the pawn, there's really nothing good to do here. Yeah, and this really put the nail in the coffin because not only is he threatening to win my pawn, but he's threatening to do it and win my knight with a fork. So that's kind of mean. So I pretty much have to go stop the pawn, but the rook is still retaining control of that as well. So I've just got nothing I can even do here at all. I mean, what do I do? This? Probably he just pushes. He can just completely ignore me. Right? So yeah, and this is too good because I did see this line during the game. I remember this too because I thought, you know, I mean, what do I do here? If I go here, he actually already wins the knight. But if I just do this, this also seems terrible. What could he do? Oh yeah, this winning the knight. So I resigned in after rook b5. I did resign, and the computer says -54. So I'm pretty happy with my decision. So yeah, what happened this game? Our overall assessment. Why did I lose this game? Why did I lose this game? Because I didn't understand the middle game. I played everything well until about bishop c2. I played bishop c2 with the wrong idea, even though the move in itself is kind of okay. I should just play bishop g5 or knight e5 right now. It's absolutely the way to play. I feel like any like 1500 kid would play those moves instantly. And I want to be more like those kids because those kids become 2200. That's what I want to do. Okay, so I work with a lot of kids. So yeah, I started to go wrong with bishop c2, but I'm still fine as long as I find the right plan. And then finally here, my lack of understanding shows because my coach groaned when I played bishop b3, and yeah, that is in fact the move where I was giving up on attacking, which is completely wrong. I just can't do that. Yeah, and I paid the price. I had chances to stay active even after that and play knight e5. And I boil this down all to my lack of understanding on what happens after, let's say, bishop c2. What happens here? Because I was afraid of this. I thought if I take a pawn, you know, maybe there's knight d7. But really, I think what I was afraid of was I don't want to take with a rook. And what I learned is that this is absolutely the right way to play. And here's a pro tip from me. I have neglected looking and studying at master games. When I do study them, I study them very thoroughly, which is recommended by many chess coaches. But I watched some very strong kids look at master games and look at opening theory for that matter. And they tend to click through the games very quickly, get the gist of what's happening in the game, just kind of get some ideas, kind of see what the grandmasters are playing. And that is something I have never done. But let's put it this way. If I had studied a Panov Attack, I would have seen this sometimes I get hanging pawns. Or I would have seen that knight e5, rook takes e5 happens a lot. So I think clicking through many master games can really help your chess. That is my conclusion from this game. And I do intend to maybe do that in the future. And then maybe I'll have a better idea. Because I thought the rook's just misplaced here. I just simply haven't seen enough positions to have an intuition about this move. But had I clicked through lots of games and already been playing this in blitz, I think I would have played knight e5 absolutely, and I would have had a very nice position. So that is my conclusion about this game. Now you could also say that allowing the pin at the end is a huge blunder. I agree with that as well, although I was slightly worse already. I could still play knight e3 and maybe be okay, or even trade rooks and play knight e3. So this is also important. Now, why did I not see that this is a pin and it's so deadly? Probably not enough tactics puzzles is the answer. So tactics puzzles are always recommended because the more you do, the more you understand what's going on with stuff like this pin, which I clearly didn't understand because I missed bishop g5. I just clearly missed it. I mean, it's a bishop move that attacks a rook, and I didn't even see it. So more tactics puzzles for me. My tactical awareness has gone up quite a bit in the last year, but I believe I still have a long way to go. But when I get where I'm going, hopefully before age 50, I should break 2,000 without too much difficulty, and then maybe make a run for master, which is really what I want to reach. But don't worry about me. I will probably never give up chess because I'm very obsessive and I love it. So even if I lose again and again and again, I will always come back to learn more, fight some more. And I think that is the right approach when you lose chess games. Brush off your losses, learn something from them, but then brush them off. No big deal. There's always more chess. And then when you win, do the opposite. Celebrate your wins, enjoy your wins. But the losses, it's only rating points. It's only one tournament. There's going to be more chess. So with that, I leave you, and thanks for joining me if you did. And I'll see you next time. And I will go back and cover round 3. So I will see you then. Okay, bye.